That's one intense counselor.
Gary Stills has a motor that just doesn't stop, and he's going to be antsy on the sideline all night.
Brian Kopka will kick it away. The Terrapins to boot it away. West Virginia won the toss, elected to receive, and Nate Terry will go to one knee. West Virginia will start it at their 20-yard line. It's a West Virginia offense that did move the football at times against the #1 team in the country 2 weeks ago, Ohio State. Zaraway is the big guy, but Mark Bolger is an unsung hero. Very consistent, does not make a lot of mistakes. These are the two secrets. David Saunders and Sean Foreman. What a great combination. Foreman last year, first-team Big East pick. And Eric DeGrow in the middle of a good offensive line. He was a second-team All-Big East pick last year. A look at Bolger out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is his second full season as a starter. And guess who's got the football? And guess who's got a big gain? Amos Zaraway, 16 yards and a first down. Defensively last year, it was a real struggle for Maryland. They were dead last in the ACC. Up front, Delbert Cowsett has the most experience, 22 games under his belt, though he is a junior. Great linebackers. This is the strength of Maryland. Eric Barton led the ACC in solo tackles last year. A secondary that had just 11 picks last year, though Lindy Washington has 2 this year. 1 he has taken back for a touchdown. Anthony Green in motion on 1st and 10. Zaraway across the 40 to the 41.
Nothing fancy about what West Virginia wants to do. They want Zaraway to touch the ball about 33 times this night. That's about what he needs. He starts getting going once he gets over 20-25 carries. Against Ohio State, Rich, only 20 carries. And they felt that they didn't run the ball enough with him.
And that's not good news for Maryland. The man in the middle, Kendall Ogle, the senior out of Hillside, New Jersey. Ogle combines with Eric Barton to make up one of the best pair of linebackers in the ACC.
And that's absolutely right, because those two inside linebackers run about as well as any pair in the country.
Another look.
Well, let's look to the right of the screen. There's Ogle, 32, inside in that pileup. And he winds up on the bottom of the pile. It's hard to tell what happened to him, but anytime you're in a pileup like that, there's a danger of people falling on you and you're getting your limbs twisted around.
There's a look at Eric Barton, the senior. 20 tackles so far this season. Out of Alexandria, Virginia. 2nd down and 5. Zaraway. And Amos Zaraway close to another first down, a gain of 5.
Rich, top of the show, you talked about Zaraway's vision. Well, you saw it on that play. And when he makes moves, cutbacks, it's because he sees things so well. Here he comes. Now he sees the crease, and he sees back outside where he can make up 4 more yards. That kind of vision makes all the difference in great running backs. Simple toss out there to him. Let him find the crease and let him get inside of it. And Zaraway does that very well. Excellent vision.
Zaraway is listed at 5'10". He's more like 5'7", 5'8". But a first down for West Virginia.
Let's just say he could play on our 5'10" and under basketball 3-on-3 team.
There's a look at some of the numbers that he's run up. All-time leader in rushing yards. And remember, he is a junior.
Yeah,
27 touchdowns.
Now, those 27 touchdowns, keep in mind, this is only his 24th game as a collegiate. 27 touchdowns in 24 games, and he's got a ways to go in this ball game.
Movement and flags. And the officials want to confer. Ron Vanderlinden, a guy that made his mark as a defensive coordinator.
Dead ball.
False start on the offense. 5 yards. First down.
Gary Barnett, of course, was his mentor. They both came from the Colorado program of Bill McCartney. And he has, in taking over Maryland, tried to stamp defense as its trademark.
Well, remember, at Northwestern, defense was the key to their Rose Bowl appearance and the great championships they won in the Big Ten.
Some two-back look with Anthony Green in front of Zaraway. Bulger to the air for the first time, and he's got David Saunders right out of bounds at midfield. Down to the sidelines, Chris Marlowe.
Ankle. He had a previous ankle injury. Once again, he sprained his ankle. They retaped it, and he's going back in as soon as they put his shoe on. Back to you.
Good news for Terrapin fans. Good news for Wally Ake, their defensive coordinator.
Well, Kendall Ogle had that ankle injury last week in the game against Virginia, but it didn't slow him down so much during the game. He played very well against Virginia.
On second down, Zaraway through the hole, and you see the work of Eric Barton, the senior linebacker. Makes the initial hit and the stop.
Well, Barton really has good speed, and if you don't get a lineman on him, he's going to make a play. And you see Zaraway come into the line of scrimmage there, and no one is blocking on Barton, so he can run right to the play and make the tackle. There he is, nice and free. Nobody gets pads on him. He's free to make the tackle. West Virginia is going to have to make sure a guard gets a body on Barton so Zaraway can run.
Third down 3. Bulger and the Mountaineers were just 2 of 14 on third down against Ohio State, and they're going to throw for it. Over the middle as Bulger is tipped and almost caught. It's incomplete. Sean Foreman avoided the collision, and Maryland's defense holds at midfield.
Well, Sean Foreman is the guy who really out here, you see him, he's out there, he's got a chance right there, almost comes up with a safety, came over. Now watch the end of this. He's going to have a chance to make the play, and he just can't quite get there. Tremendous concentration by Sean Foreman.
Jay Taylor to punt. Tony Jackson fields it at his 3 and steps out of bounds. And that's not how they draw it up.
No, your rule is absolutely on the 10-yard line. The ball goes over your head. Let it go into the end zone. That's a mistake.
As much as the Maryland defense struggled last year, the Maryland offense struggled last year as well. They were dead last in scoring in the ACC. Ken Mastroli, a junior, not a real battle-tested quarterback, has yet to throw a touchdown in his career. The big change, Omar Cheeseborough is in. Moses Cruz, the most experience on the outside. He had 6 catches last week. And up front, keep your eyes on Melvin Fowler. When fall camp started, he was a nose tackle. And so Maryland, deep in their own territory. This is Lamont Jordan. And now a fired-up West Virginia defense gets a chance with Maryland backed up against their own goal line.
West Virginia has a chance to put pressure on here and try to make a big play. Look at the backside from here. You see pressure coming. Good effort to chase it down from behind. Excellent play. Charlton Forbes, 54, was the man showing you his great speed.
That's one of the things coaches talk about when they talk about West Virginia's defense, is that speed. And going nowhere is Lamont Jordan. Chris Edmonds, the sophomore, came up and made the stop. Defensively, a lot of yardage against Ohio State. John Thornton, though, first team all Big East. He's the man, the big man up front. Obviously, Gary Stills is out. We told you about that. We'll be watching Mark Thurston throughout this football game. And in the defensive backfield, Jerry Porter was a wide receiver, had 12 tackles against Ohio State.
Maryland has to be careful down here. They don't want to make a big mistake, Rich.
Straight ahead they go with their big man, the fullback, Matt Kalapinski. No mistake. but very little breathing room for this punt.
Smart coaching by Vanderland in there to make sure they don't turn the ball over. Give yourself a chance to get back in the field position game, kick it away, and hope that your defense can give you a stop.
Russ Edwards. And he got it off. Nate Terry from his 48-yard line. And Terry is inside the 35, down to the 33-yard line. Great field position, a 19-yard return. West Virginia in a good spot. We're scoreless in Morgantown.
ESPN2's presentation of college football is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at MBUSA.com, and by Killian's Irish Red, which reminds you one look says a lot.
A simply gorgeous weekend in West Virginia, and Mountaineer Field is just about full. The West Virginia Mountaineers come in at number 20. 2 weeks ago, they lost to Ohio State in the season opener.
And you worry about the emotional investment West Virginia made in that Ohio State game and how they respond after having lost it. They need to get off to a good start tonight.
Amos Zaraway was the featured back in the first drive. Big surprise, huh? And he's got the ball again. Zaraway trying to make Eric Barton miss, and that's a difficult thing to do. Barton with a nice tackle. It'll be second down and about
Rich,
8.
That last drive, you saw Zaraway really run the ball very well and pick up a lot of yardage. Well, now look what they're doing here. Now you see safeties moving up closer. They've got more guys close to the line of scrimmage to give them 8 in the box so that they can try and take away Zaraway from running the football and force Bulger to throw the ball.
A 2 tight end look now for West Virginia on 2nd and 9. Zaraway caught at the 30. Delbert Cowsett made the stop on the defensive line for Maryland.
Well, running room is going to be very difficult for Zaraway to find with 8 men up close on 1st and 2nd down. Right here, you're making him go sideways. You have him surrounded. That's because the 8th man in the box is a guy you cannot block. He's free to get right in the face of the ball carrier. So now you have a 3rd and long, exactly what Maryland wanted to do to West Virginia.
Third down and 7. Shotgun. Bulger. Flushed out. Lost the football. Maryland's got it. Flags are down. Sean Forte with the loose ball. I think it was Barton with the hit that loosened it. And Maryland takes over. They're going to get another 15, I think, on a face mask.
I think you're right, Rich. I think it was exactly that. But, you know, that play started out looking like it was something pretty good for West Virginia.
On the return, we had a personal foul on West Virginia, face mask, 15 yards, first down.
Now watch a good protection that Bulger gets right off the bat. Offensive line doing a great job, a nice pocket, plenty of time, but he runs out of the pocket a little bit prematurely, and now he thinks, well, maybe I can run it. I don't know, a little hesitant there, and didn't cover up and protect the football. You got to protect the football, and just a tremendous hit that time by Eric Barton, the inside linebacker, who's been making plays for Maryland for quite some time.
Barton's played 2 series. He probably already has about 7 or 8 tackles. And now Maryland has some good field position. To the air, Mastroli. And he's got a trainer open at the 25. But he overthrew her.
And you're right. And that was a mix-up between the wide receiver and the quarterback.
Growing pains for Ron Vanderlinden, and he knows he's got to go through it at the quarterback spot. Brian Cummings was his quarterback last year. He's in the CFL, and it's Mastroli's team to start with.
Oh, he was trying to get the Cheeseboro out there that time, and Cheeseboro hooked, and Mastroli threw it deep.
2nd and 10. Option. Mastroli took a big hit. Barrett Green knocked him for a loop. As we head back to the studios and Mike Adamley. Mike?
Well, Rich and Rod, an upset brewing in Charlottesville. Number 10 Virginia against Clemson. Clemson Tiger quarterback Brandon Streeter, 54 yards to Brian Wolford, gives the Tigers an 18-17 lead. They have never lost on September 19th, which is today's date, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
And just watch this big hit. You always want the quarterback to keep the ball if you don't think he's a great runner, because you can do that to him. Man, Green lined him up and really rocked him.
Barrett Green, they're counting on Green to have a big game in the absence of Gary Stills. Mastroli on 3rd down. And whistle stopped the play.
Dead ball. Delay of the game on the offense. 5 yards. 3rd down.
Don Nehlen in his 19th year at West Virginia, the winningest coach in West Virginia history. And you see those 130 wins. You can add to it his 9 years at Bowling Green, 183 wins. He is one of the good guys in college football. Just about any coach, be it college or high school or junior college, talks glowingly about their contact with Nehlen. No contact on that one. Mastroli threw it behind Bruce James, and it's incomplete. Maryland will have to kick.
Watch this. You got one-on-one coverage right there. Now they go with it. Now watch the good play inside. That was a good jam, and now you just follow him on inside. Nice job by Fisher to really push the receiver where he had a little bit of help, but that pass still should have been caught. James right there, thrown behind him just a little bit.
Russ Edwards back into punt. West Virginia came close on the first one. This is a rocket shot. That one's going to land in the end zone. My goodness, 58 yards from Russ Edwards. West Virginia will start it at the 20. We're underway in Morgantown and scoreless. On your home for Major League Baseball, ESPN. Mountaineer Fields in Morgantown. There's a look at Gary Stills. First team All Big East linebacker, cracked kneecap. They say he's out 4 weeks. He says he's out 2 weeks. But he's out this week, and that's all that Maryland cares about. David Saunders is in motion. Mark Bolger to the sidelines, and a nice catch by Sean Foreman. Let's go back down to the sidelines. Chris Marlowe.
Okay, thank you, Rich. One thing we know for West Virginia has a large size advantage on Maryland. Take a look at the graphic. On the offensive line, 39 pounds on average. On the defensive line, 14 pounds. Is bigger better? It should be, but we'll know as this game wears on. Back to you.
That makes a difference, but I'll tell you one other thing, adjustments matter too. You saw in that first down, West Virginia came out throwing the ball because they weren't having success on that last series running it.
David Saunders in motion, and he's got the lateral, and he's got some yardage as he tiptoes out of bounds at about the 39-yard line.
Well, the cat and mouse game continues. West Virginia is trying to loosen up the Maryland defense. They want to get the 8 men out of the line of scrimmage area so that they'll give Zero Way some room to run the football.
You can see Kendall Ogle is back in the football game. He was out with that ankle, and so he's back in now.
And they need him back in there.
I think that's real important. We talked about the size differential, the offensive line against the defensive line. That's where your linebackers come into play, Barton and Ogle.
Yeah, take a look at his arm, though. You see that dot right there? You see that? He lost some skin there. And that's what AstroTurf does to you. You're out there, you rip up skin on AstroTurf. That's why I hate it.
Wait a minute. The West Virginia media guy touted this brand new AstroTurf field as a much more, I guess, comfortable AstroTurf field. Loose ball, Zero-Way lost it. And Maryland has forced their second turnover.
And immediately, Rich, you think back. 2-week layoff, 1 game in 6 weeks of practice. You wonder, because West Virginia is not that sharp, their second turnover, has the layoff hurt them? All right, now 2 turnovers, both times carrying the football. Bolger earlier, and now Zeraway loses this ball. It does. I can't tell who knocked it out, but it looked like it really might have come out by Rasheed Simmons. Yep, right there. Simmons with the left arm knocked it out of there.
Paul Jackson, I believe, on the recovery. And now Maryland will try to move the football. Going nowhere quick is Lamont Jordan, but not us. Quickly we go to the studios. Mike Adamle.
All right, Rich and Rod in Columbus, number 1 Ohio State against number 19 Missouri. The pitch to Derek Combs from Joe Germain. He goes in from 9 yards out to give the Buckeyes a 35-14 lead. How deep is Ohio State? Combs, the third-string tailback. And at Wrigley Field today, Sammy Sosa went 0 for 4 as the Cubs lost to the Reds 7-2.
Amos Zeraway right now on the sidelines. He fumbled on that last carry.
10 yards. Spot of the foul. Repeat first down.
There's the man that forced the fumble. Up front, Rasheed Simmons.
And we saw him before the ball game, and he was certainly inspired and ready to play, focused. You like to see that in your players, and you had a sense or feeling he would have an impact on this ball game just looking at him in the warm-ups.
West Virginia has moved the football. Maryland has not, and a holding call brings up first down and 20. Jordan, he swallowed up at the 35-yard line. Pick a number. Kevin Landolt.
Yeah, how about the entire defensive line? They have some players up front. John Thornton, 96, Charlton Forbes, 54. Watch how they just dominate. Right now, Forbes, 54, is in the backfield. And when you have the line of scrimmage reestablished by the nose tackle that quickly, you're not going to make yardage. Here's John Thornton.
Big man out of Philadelphia. Second and 23. Mastroli in trouble. Across the 40 to the 44-yard line. He'll gain about 7. Barrett Green made the stop. Charlton Forbes was in on the pursuit.
Rich, inside, John Thornton's a big guy, 300 pounds. They play him at nose tackle, sometimes tackle. Look at the double team that they put on him right now to keep him out of the backfield. And he has a tough time dealing with that. He was hoping he would get single blocking throughout the evening. Not on that play, but he forces you to occupy him with 2 people.
I'll tell you what, he can hope all he wants, Rod, but he's not going to get single blocking much all year. He said earlier this week, you can judge what kind of game he's having by what kind of game the guys around him are having.
Right.
If guys around him are having big days, then he's doing his job because he's getting double teamed and occupying blockers. Mastroli on third down. Has his man, Omar Cheeseborough, but he's short of the first down.
And Cheeseborough is getting a lot of playing time because Jermaine Arrington, the starting flanker, is out with an ankle injury. But Maryland plays a number of receivers, so they should have enough depth to overcome Arrington's loss. But, Rich, right now, Ron Vanderlinden has to be happy that his team has won the field position battle so far.
Russ Edwards, who rooted that 58-yarder, longest Maryland punt in 2 years, his last time out. They're hoping he hits it about 45 yards this time. And I'll tell you what, he came pretty darn close, didn't he? They will mark it at the 8-yard line. That's where West Virginia will take over. Linebacker Mark Thurston getting a lecture from Gary Stills, out with a cracked kneecap. Stills, they say, is the most intense linebacker they've had here at West Virginia in a long time.
And that's better than what a coach can do for you. Having a senior talk to a redshirt freshman and tell him what's up. He says, hey, this is the way you get it done, buddy.
West Virginia, a legacy of great linebackers, and Stills is one they feel will be a guy that will go highly in the draft. This is Bolger to the sideline. Sean Foreman, who is as strong a wide receiver as you'll find, makes the catch, carries a couple of Terrapins out of bounds with him. That's a great pair, Sean Foreman, David Saunders. Don Nealon is a guy that can depend on the two guys on the outside. Foreman had a great year last year.
Well, he's down here. Take a look at him. He is a big receiver going against a smaller defensive back. And once he gets the ball, now the defensive back has to think, oh, I got to come and drive on him. I got to figure out how to tackle this big man who's 205 pounds. Now watch the move that he makes and the power. 205 pounds on 6'2". And he's a strong man. And he got another 5 yards after making the catch.
Timeout on the field. The football sitting just short of the 29-yard line. There's a look at Foreman. You know, he last year broke David Saunders' receiving record. Saunders had 76 catches in 96. You can see. And then Foreman, after Saunders injured his knee and was out the entire 97 season, all he did was do him one better. And guess what? This year, they're both healthy, and they're both in the lineup at the same time.
And I tell you one thing about Foreman. I have never seen a receiver with hands that big. And Saunders is a big receiver, but Foreman's hands are like the size of cat paws.
They say he can palm his helmet, drop the helmet, and then catch it again and hold on to it, which is not easy to do.
Big tiger.
We tried it. Bulger now to the sideline. Now he looks for Saunders, who can't keep his feet in bounds. It's incomplete.
He was open out there. Bulger just led him a little bit too much to the sideline. He's got room, but look at this. Just a little bit outside. He's trying very hard to get the feet in, but you could see his left foot was clearly on the out-of-bounds line.
Saunders out of Palatine, Illinois.
Palatine High School.
Saunders has a pair of catches. Foreman, his buddy, has a pair of catches. And it looks like, Rod, when Bulger is having success, he's had it on the sidelines, on the outside.
Well, he wants his receivers out there with the cornerbacks who are smaller.
On the outside now, he's got Pat Green. And out goes Green to the 42-yard line. First down, West Virginia. Back to the studios, Mike Adamle.
Okay, Rich and Rod. Well, Pittsburgh giving number 8 Penn State all they can handle today. Matt Lytle on the quarterback keeper just gets in, and Pittsburgh has cut the Penn State lead to 7. 3:25 remaining in the fourth. Guys?
Well, that's a program certainly that is very close to West Virginia. Pittsburgh, rivals, about an hour and a half away from each other. In fact, Pittsburgh came to West Virginia and beat them in 3 overtimes to finish the regular season last year. Amos Zeraway. Hey, we haven't said his name in about 15 minutes.
Well, they're trying to get settled. Now, remember, West Virginia, 2-week layoff. You wondered how they would play tonight. Well, they've had some problems early on. The story, turnovers. Bulger with a fumble in the first quarter. And then Zeraway, a fumble in the first quarter. Those 2 turnovers stopped scoring drives, and it makes you wonder just a little bit about the layoff.
5 yards. Repeat, first down.
A 5-yard offsides. It'll bring up first down and 5.
And Rich, you know, 2 weeks ago, West Virginia played Ohio State. And then they went back to work and practice. And then before that, before they played Ohio State, they practiced for 3.5, 4 weeks. So while most other teams have played 2, 3, 4 games, this is just their second game.
And they've had, what, 6, 7 weeks of practice for just that one game. Bulger last year versus Maryland. That's the line that is very consistent. He usually throws for about 200 yards. High completion percentage, not many picks, and a great tumbling catch. Corey Ivy. Cliff Crosby on the coverage. 27-yard pickup. He's the 4th wide receiver to catch a ball already for West Virginia.
And a smart choice by Bulger. I mean, he had his choice of receivers. He knew where the weakness in the coverage would be and threaded it. 4 receivers flying down the field, and they spread them out. They spread it out the coverage, and he went and found his man, Corey Ivy, right there.
Ivy out of Boca Raton took a pretty good hit. He had 5 catches against Ohio State 2 weeks ago. On a quick toss at Zeraway. And down goes Amos at the 19-yard line. Caught by Kendall Ogle.
Now you see the trend. Remember, on first down, they were running the ball and they weren't getting anything. So now they're throwing it on first down, but they still want Zereoué to touch the ball. So just throw it to him. That's just as good as a run. And that man right there, Ogle, is running all over the field trying to chase down Zereoué.
You got a New Jersey kid trying to chase down a kid from Long Island. That's where Zereoué's from, Long Island. Ogle from New Jersey. Maryland showing blitz. Here they come, and they swallow him up at the 20-yard line. Delbert Cowsett.
Now, Rich, remember, they're backing up. They're coming back with the 8 guys up front. You see them really trying to come after. Anthony Green is the fullback who's trying to block, who's carrying the ball right there. The offensive line gets overwhelmed with too many Maryland defenders up front. Eric Barton, 44, was showing blitz on that last play, and you'll see more of that on 2nd and 4 as well.
Motion man is Saunders, and he'll get it for the 15. Saunders, out of bounds he goes. Paul Jackson, I wanted to say rode him out of bounds, but actually the roles were reversed.
I'll tell you one thing, Corey Ivy, though, got a great block on that play. On that screen play, Corey Ivy, number 8, just lit up a Maryland defender who was coming across. And you can't run a good screen play without getting good blocks by your wide receivers.
An impressive West Virginia drive.
Watch the top of the screen, you'll see the block right there. That's a decleater, knocking a guy off his cleats.
Lindy Washington, the man without cleats for Maryland. On a quick toss, the tight end, Anthony Becht. Paul Jackson made the stop. First ball that Becht has caught today. 2nd down.
This is really a dangerous area for Maryland as well, because remember, they have a size disadvantage, not only in the trenches, but on the corners. Look for the big receivers to try and get some room out on fade routes down here, because they're about 6'2", and the defensive backs are only about 5'8", 5'9".
2nd down and 9. They run right at Barton and Zereoué inside the 10. That's as far as he'll get. 3rd down.
I like Barton. I mean, he not only has speed, but I mean, he steps up and he takes on blockers and he finishes tackles.
You saw Chris Marlowe talk about the size differential. The defensive line of Maryland much smaller than West Virginia's offensive line. Thus far, the linebackers, Barton and Ogle, have made up for that size differential.
The defensive line doing a good job of keeping the offensive linemen off of Barton and Ogle.
Final play of this quarter. Little bootleg. Bulger's throw. Got him. Touchdown. Corey Ivy. Mountaineers are on the board first.
The payoff for Corey Ivy, when you deliver great blocks, you get rewarded with a chance to catch the ball. He'll go in motion and just curl back around against the man-to-man coverage. He's going to be the man they find. Coming back across the screen, there he is in the center, and look at the hit at the end that Bulger takes. But Corey Ivy, nice and open there.
The extra point is good. The quarter has expired. 1 quarter in the books. West Virginia, a 7-0 lead over Maryland. Corey Ivy
Red man, what's up?
finishing the drive. An impressive one. 92 yards on 10 plays, and West Virginia on the board first. Jade Taylor. Jason Hatala. And Hatala is out to the 23-yard line.
Hey, Rich, on that touchdown play, there was confusion in the Maryland secondary. There is Corey Ivy. Here is Saunders on the motion. It's going to confuse the Maryland secondary. Ivy, top of the screen, inside the slot. Watch him come through. Now, nobody knows who to take because of what's happened. Look here. He's going to let Corey go. Lets him go, and no one is there to pick him up. Confusion in the Maryland secondary. That's a blown coverage. That's a touchdown pass.
Maryland has been unable to move the football throughout this football game, but look at this. Matt Kalapinski rumbling out to the 44-yard line. The big fullback had a 53-yard run against Virginia. Rattles one off close to midfield. Let's head back to the studios and Mike Adamler.
Okay, Rich and Rod, final 27 seconds, 4th and 20 for the Pitt Panthers against Penn State. Matt Lytle looking, and the pass broken up by Ascari Adams. Penn State hangs on to win it by a count of 20-13. And it's a final in Columbus, Ohio. Number 1, Ohio State prevailed today over Missouri by a count of 35-14.
You know, I think our Kirk Herbstreit has something wired because he predicted, I think, a 35-13 or 38-13 victory this morning on game day.
Yeah, but I'll bet he was pretty nervous at halftime. 10 plays, 92 yards. Ivy, the 9-yard catch.
I think maybe the Ohio State coaches are slipping him the game plan.
They used to. I don't think they do it anymore. Don Nealon got to be happy with that. Rod, you were right. He mixed things up. He went away from zero away. They threw the football 8 times on that drive. Kalapinski straight ahead, and it will be 3rd down and a long 3. Numbers from the first quarter. West Virginia a 7-0 lead.
You take a look at the passing yards, not much from Maryland, 113 for West Virginia. The surprise really only 49 yards on the ground rushing, but the big thing right here at the bottom, the turnovers. West Virginia in scoring position twice. They gave the ball back. Bolger had a nice first quarter, 10 out of 12.
Maryland 0 for 3 on 3rd down, and it's been a 3rd down and over 12 for the most part. Mastroli's throw, it's caught. Kalapinski, the fullback, with the catch. It's a 1st down inside West Virginia territory to the 34-yard line. 16 yards on the pickup. The sophomore, the big kid, out of Marshfield, Massachusetts, Matt Kalapinski.
Oh, but your tight end is always your best friend. You'll see Warridge will be flashing across the screen as he comes out. He's out to the right side of your screen right there, and he is a guy you got to find because man coverage with everybody else. Warridge, 46, a big target from Lestry.
34-yard line of West Virginia. The little guy, Harold Wesley, is in. And Wesley is down to the 26-yard line. Nate Terry made the stop.
Well, Lamont Jordan started the ball game, and he's the power running back, 215 pounds. Wesley, he's the changeup. He's the guy that's quick. If he gets into the hole and gets out of it, you may not be able to catch him. West Virginia did a nice job of bottling up Jordan in the first quarter, and now it's Wesley's turn.
It's one thing Maryland did well in the loss to Virginia, run the football. There's Kalapinski to the 23-yard line.
You saw Stills talking to Thurston a while back. Stills is on the sidelines watching Thurston 48 and the rest of the linebackers as they do a pretty good job of coming off blocks, avoiding blockers to get in and make plays. Thurston 48 is the guy who's having to play that rush in since Gary Stills is out with a fractured kneecap. I tell you one thing, Stills is a delightful young man. We had a chance to visit with him yesterday.
He was trying to convince us that he might take a few snaps today. Wesley outside, gets there. Did he have enough? No. To the 21.
And you know, to follow up on that point about Stills maybe taking some snaps, he wasn't kidding. Remember last season, he played in a ball game. They didn't know that he had fractured his knee until after the ball game. And in addition to that, he had a broken thumb had a pin put in it, wrapped it up, and went out and played. This is a guy who just does not feel pain.
But he's a guy that's a pretty good counselor. Let's go down to Chris Marlowe. Chris?
To Gary Stills, his assessment of Mark Thurston playing okay, making some rookie mistakes, a little too aggressive so far. He wants him to be more patient and let the game come to him. Our first quarter assessment of Coach Gary Stills. Back to you.
He was begging for a headset as well. But they were smart and didn't give him one. Timeout on the field. Maryland in West Virginia territory, and on the move. They take a timeout, trailing 7-0.
ESPN2's presentation of college football is brought to you by Infinity. Own one and you'll understand. And by Doubletree Hotels, guest suites and resorts. Sweet dreams from Doubletree.
Morgantown, West Virginia, as night falls. And West Virginia and Maryland, the Terps have made the trip. Bordering states. And two teams that have kept up this series throughout the years. Second down and 8. Harold Wesley goes down in the arms of John Thornton.
I bet he didn't get double teamed that time. John Thornton told us yesterday he can't block him one-on-one. He refuses to be blocked by one blocker. And if you don't double him, he'll make plays in your backfield. He made a play on Wesley that time. Yeah, I like Thornton. 300 pounds, athletic, quick.
And now a big third down. Maryland converted their last one. Lamont Jordan going nowhere in a hurry. Mark Thurston. There he is, a proud teacher.
Yeah, very much so. And they all did well for Coach Stills that time. Defensive line destroyed. Take control of the line of scrimmage and then have your backside pursuit. And the speed of the West Virginia defense is very impressive, led by Thurston there, who never gave up on the play. That time he was patient, as Coach Stills told him, and he let the game come to him.
This will be a 44-yarder for Brian Kopka. And the kick is up and good. And Maryland is on the board. Brian Kopka, the sophomore, out of Hollywood, Florida, has the Terps on the board at 7-3, West Virginia. West Virginia 7, Maryland 3. There's a man that knows what it's like to be in the trenches. Reuben Carter. Great career with the Denver Broncos.
Man knows what it's like to be successful and to play on winning programs, Super Bowls. I tell you, he was a player. He wreaked a lot of havoc in the NFL during his day.
He's got a son that plays for the University of California, Andre Carter.
And I'm sure he's going to wreak havoc before his football career is done. Apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, huh?
It's a very interesting Maryland staff. Ron Vanderlinden has a lot of guys that have experience and have had success at the collegiate and the professional level. And now West Virginia, Nate Terry to the 20. Terry out to midfield and into Maryland territory. To the 49-yard line, flag down, holding West Virginia. The flag is back at the 21-yard line, which means this one's coming back a long ways.
Holding on the return, 10 yards. Spot of the foul. First down.
All right, Rich, let's see if we can find the hold for you. It looks like it's right here. Looks like it's right there where they hold, and that gives Terry enough room to get outside. Yep, there's some grabbing and holding right there, which gives him the big lane to get into. He can't do that. Can't get away with that.
No, you can't.
Not in front of the official.
This is an ACC crew.
I think that was Mark Corman who was holding there.
All right, now 1st and 10 for Martin Bolger and the number 20 West Virginia Mountaineers. A 7-3 lead, and Bolger's going upstairs. Lots of time. Over the middle, he's got Becht, his tight end. He'll ramble out to the 47-yard line. That's just about where the kickoff return ended from Nate Terry.
Okay, great catch, but Rich, that was all about the quarterback. That was all about Bolger. Watch him look things off and take his time. Right now, nobody's open. He's looking to the left or right. And now he says, it's not here, it's not there, it's not there. I'm going to wait for it to open up in the middle. And he comes back to his tight end. He waits for him. That is patience. That is great quarterbacking. That is knowing your progression. That's smart quarterback play.
And that's what they say about Mark Bolger, that he is a smart quarterback. Saunders in motion. Amos Zaraway slides down to the 42-yard line. And Zaraway sets up a 2nd down and about 5. Nine and a half minutes left, 2nd quarter. West Virginia turned it over twice in the 1st quarter. Maryland could not move the football. West Virginia stuck it in on the final play of the 1st quarter, ending a 92-yard drive in front of almost a full house here at Mountaineer Field. But Maryland has played tough, just like they did it against number 10 Virginia last week. Bolger with a nice throw. Saunders with the catch. We head to the studios and Mike Adams.
Well, Rich and Rod, speaking of number 10 Virginia, they survived the scare today. This is Todd Braverman from 30 yards away. His field goal good, and UVA beats Clemson 20-18. Guys?
Wow.
Virginia, here's another look.
Well, this is almost an automatic for Bolger. He takes a hit almost on every play when he throws the ball, but he's hanging in there and he's looking for the flag.
Mountaineers on the move. Little reverse action. Antonio Brown. Boy, Don Nehlen and his offensive coordinator, Dan Simrell, certainly get everybody involved, don't they? 4 receivers. That's Simrell on the left. 4 receivers
right
have caught balls. And now Brown, who doesn't have a catch, but now he's got a carry.
Well, it's a well-conceived offense. They give you a lot of window dressing, which highlights Zaraway, but every now and then they come back with something like this to keep you honest. And this time, it works. Nice play. Antonio Brown doesn't get a lot of time, but he's out there for that purpose, to run the reverse.
Gain of 9. Zaraway to the 15-yard line. Down to the sidelines, Chris Marlowe.
All right, just minutes ago, the officials confirmed apparently some knuckleheads in the crowd have been throwing golf balls onto the field. 3 separate incidents. I talked to a couple of the officials. They said they have warned the people in the crowd, obviously, but they have warned the home team. If it happens again, it's going to be a 15-yard penalty on West Virginia. Back to you.
That's Courtney Mose, the referee. 15 yards is a steep price to pay.
Well, I'd give him 30 for throwing golf balls out here.
I agree.
That's dangerous.
Saunders in motion. Zaraway, 10 to the 6-yard line.
And Zaraway is a solid, strong back. Watch him finish the run. Yeah, he gets good blocking, and he gets himself out there, but watch him finish. He doesn't give up and go out of bounds. He lowers the shoulder to finish the run right there. He believes in dishing out punishment. Even though he's a short back, he's not a small back. Here's the rushing chart on where he's picked up his yards. 4 carries to the left, 4 in the middle, 3 to the right. They've spread it out. Most of the yards coming to the left.
This one up the middle, and this one not going anywhere. Chris Jenkins, the sophomore out of Ypsilanti, Michigan.
You know, one thing about Zaraway you have to like his arms. I mean, he's got those great big biceps, almost Popeye arms. Look at these things here, right there. Look at those arms. He told us yesterday that even though he plays on turf, he doesn't cover up his arms because he's worked too hard to develop those things. He wants to show them off. Like you.
Oh, yeah.
Biggest arms around.
Third down and short here. And West Virginia hasn't converted a third down until here. Zaraway, touchdown.
He's a special football player, Rich. And special football players have that burst. They have that explosion. Watch how he splits the tacklers here. I believe Barton 44 is going to show up right there, and he goes right through 2 would-be tacklers. That's explosion. Special players have it.
And West Virginia adds the point. Amos Zaraway and his West Virginia Mountaineers on top 14-3. Amos Zaraway had the touchdown, but that large man, Brock Holland, had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, you know, Brock Holland's not going to get a big block in here, but it's going to be just enough on Peter Timmons, 47, to keep him out of the play. Look to the left of your screen. You'll see it right there. Right there. The block is just enough to keep Timmons from getting in front of Zaraway, and also enough to cut off Barton 44, and Zaraway can explode through there and get the touchdown. Nice teamwork.
Amos Zaraway. Got a little turf burn on the hand.
He left some skin on the AstroTurf out there again.
It's the price he pays for keeping those guns unveiled. He will not cover them up, he says.
You'd show yours too.
Jason Atala is deep, awaiting Jade Taylor's kick. West Virginia has had 2 long drives, 92 and 89 yards. Atala, and a nice return, but a nice hit. David Carter on the special teams. Tonight, the Hokies of Virginia Tech, number 21, against the Hurricanes of Miami. Virginia Tech and Miami, it's tonight on ESPN at 8 Eastern. I think on a day like this, Ron Gilmore, you need picture in a picture. So you can watch this game, you can watch that game.
Yeah.
It's a busy day in college football.
He don't ever take a blockhead.
None of the big upsets like we had last week, but Mike Adamle at halftime will bring you up to date. Mastroli, Virginia will let him run the football. And he's out to the 33-yard line.
You know, we talked about West Virginia maybe being a little rusty. Well, maybe so. Look at the first 3 times they had the ball. They didn't get much done. Now the last 2 times they've kicked it into gear. 10 plays, 92 yards, touchdown. 8 plays, 89 yards and TD. I think the rust is starting to come off for West Virginia. They're starting to get into the flow of it.
And that was the concern of Don Neyland, who looks a lot happier now than he did when this thing started. Mastroli in trouble, throws it away. And a flag goes down. It'll be grounding.
Yeah, you know, he didn't have a receiver anywhere over there. Now, in the NFL, that'd be okay. In the NFL, once you're outside the pocket, you can throw the football away. But when you are in college, you got to have a receiver nearby.
We have offsetting fouls, offsides on the defense, intentionally grounding the ball on the offense, penalties offset, replay, second down.
There's a guy that knows a thing or two about quarterbacking. Mike Gundy had a great career at Oklahoma State. He's on this Ron Vanderlinden staff. The penalty's offset.
Now, remember we talked about the NFL. Once you're outside the tackle box in the NFL, you can throw it away and there's no penalty. But here, college, once again, no receiver around. If you got one around, then you're safe. They didn't have it that time.
The yardage, pretty impressive. Maryland has just a field goal to show with his first half of work. And Lamont Jordan, the intended receiver for Ken Mastroli.
Well, Maryland has a real problem because the West Virginia corners are doing a great job on their receivers. When they're locking them up almost man-to-man every time, just taking them away. Terry and Fisher, number 4, are the guys out there basically saying, forget about your receivers today. You got to go somewhere else because you can't throw the ball. And that makes it easier to play defense for the other 9 guys.
3rd down, 7. I think this is a big 3rd down for Maryland in a sense. If they give the football back to West Virginia with the momentum, there's a chance to score again before the half. And down goes Mastroli. John Thornton, the man in the middle.
It's all starting to come together for West Virginia now. Offensively, 2 straight drives. Defensively, they're on a roll right now. Good coverage, and it goes hand in hand with great pass rush. Inside, Thornton can't handle him with one guy, and there he is to make the play. They've got to double team him inside. Got a little dance there, too.
Well, if you're going to do a dance in college, you better do it quickly.
That's right. You'll get flagged otherwise.
Nate Terry, a dangerous return man. Maryland somehow avoided a flag. Well, now they didn't. The whistle stops and the flags come down. And another golf ball. You see the golf ball come down, Rod? There's a golf ball at the 8-yard line. Now, Chris Marlowe told us that the officials promised.
Delay of the game on the offense.
And
5 yards. 4th down.
Now, look at that, Rod.
Yeah.
Look at that.
He just picked it up.
He may have saved himself 15 yards. And the Maryland players right now are pointing it out.
Yeah.
There it is.
And right there. There's your golf ball right there.
The officials told us one more golf ball, it would be 15 yards. And the West Virginia band, just a commando raid, removed the golf ball. Terry at the 38 to the 47-yard line.
There's a history of great defense for West Virginia. Back in 1996, they delivered big hits. And against Maryland, they put a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. And at the end of it, Mastroli was one of those guys who took some of the punishment. And that defense finished #1 in the country in total yards allowed. And you see that they've dropped off since then. In 97, not as good. But back in 96, they had arguably the best defense in college football.
There's a Maryland player down right now. Rod Littles, we're being told. And he is up. Let's go back to that golf ball, though, Rod. That's
and it bothers me. There's no play. I mean, there's no golf balls in football. Why do you even bring golf balls to a football stadium unless you're planning on throwing them when you're not supposed to? And there's the punter. Look to the left of your screen. And there's the golf ball. It came in up there. And then it settles down around the 8-yard line. See it? To the left of the screen. Now watch to the right of the screen. There's your golf ball right there, bouncing up and down, and it's going to land around the 8-yard line. That should be another penalty.
it checked up nice. Zeraway, midfield. And Zeraway is inside the 40 to the 39-yard line. Gain of about 13 yards. And this was the danger for Maryland not moving the football. They give it right back to a red-hot West Virginia offense.
Yeah, and they're starting to get it going. Counter play here. Once again, another great block by Brock Hollins, 69, out in front of Zeraway. and Zeraway doesn't need a lot of room. There he is, 69, with the block right there, cutting off the pursuit, and that's all the space Zeraway needs. Now, that offensive line is doing a real nice job of getting him just enough room.
Zeraway closing in on 100 yards. He's already at 94. He won't get much further here on a high tackle by Rashid Simmons. It'll bring up second down.
You know, Zeraway reminds me a little bit of Emmitt Smith, Dallas Cowboy running back. He's built very much like him, has that power, that strength, very strong legs, and that acceleration.
His hero, however, is not Emmitt.
Nope, that would be another number 20 who happens to occupy the Detroit Lions offense.
Barry Sanders. Last week we saw him back from Iowa State, Darren Davis, that did a pretty good Barry Sanders imitation. Zeraway watched that game and had a lot of admiration for his work. It's been a busy day so far for John Thornton. West Virginia 14, Maryland 3. Don Nehlen was concerned how quickly his offense would get in gear tonight.
Well, they've gotten it in gear. That last drive, Zeraway kicking it in gear himself, running to the left side where he's had a lot of success tonight. We told you at the top of the show, he's been remarkably consistent against Maryland. A touchdown in each of the last couple of years and well over 100 yards.
And West Virginia's on the move now. Bulger going deep to the end zone. Deflected and almost caught. It's incomplete. The dynamic duo was down there, Sean Foreman and David Saunders. But Sean Forte, the sophomore, made the defensive stop for Maryland.
And Sean Forte knows what to do when the football's in the air. That's a guy who played on offense for Maryland last season. They moved him over after he broke a leg, and watch him go up like a receiver to try to make the play. Now, as a defensive back, he'll learn you got to go up at the highest point, but this is a former receiver trying to catch it like a receiver, and that's why that ball gets knocked out by Foreman, who comes over. But a tremendous play by Forte to get over there.
And now West Virginia's faced with a fairly lengthy third down. Saunders in motion. Bulger's throw. Caught. Ivy out of bounds at the 6. I really like Mark Bulger.
And for good reason. Don Nehlen likes him too, and Ivy likes him. He's found him again. Ivy running a very crisp, good route, but it's really Bulger who does a nice job of making the decision to pick out the right guy. He understands where his man's going to be. He influences and he waits. He has patience. He waits for the clear out so that Ivy can come by.
Dead ball. Personal foul on West Virginia. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
A personal foul against West Virginia. Here's a look.
It's the end of the play. It's right there. That shot by Pat Green, a wide receiver who takes a cheap shot, and he just costs his team 15 yards.
23-yard line now.
You think Don Nehlen found him and spoke to him about that?
No, I think Green stayed at the end of the bench, away from Don Nehlen. Zeraway to the left side. He's had success there, but not this time. A nice play by Paul Jackson. Back to the studios, Mike Adams.
All right, guys, come on in a minute. You thought after getting upset by North Carolina State last week that Florida State would annihilate Duke? Well, it's not happening. Duke blocks the punt by Kevin Cottrell. Darius Clark falls on it. They score 3 plays later and lead Florida State 7-0, guys.
Hey, Mike, you should know that Duke's for real. I mean, they beat Northwestern, didn't they?
Oh, man, what is up with Florida State?
Tonight here in Morgantown, West Virginia, a 14-3 lead over Maryland. Paul Jackson with a nice stop of Amos Zeraway. Mark Bulger has got the Mountaineers on the move. Zeraway lost his helmet. Peter Timmons with the tackle.
And Zeraway wants a flag because he says he just didn't get hit. He said somebody ripped his helmet off by grabbing the face mask.
sides on the defense. 5 yards. Previous spot. Repeat second down.
Let's see if we can see if somebody actually does rip his helmet off. And it's right there when it comes off. I don't think that was intentional. But Zeraway's getting a heck of a workout here in the first half.
A break for West Virginia. Green is back in. He's in motion. And Maryland may have been offside for the second straight snap count. Chris Jenkins. The movement.
Offside on the defense. 5 yards. Second down.
Down to the sidelines, Chris Marlowe. Chris?
All right, I found the man who got the ball, drum major Greg Costello. What made you go out there and snag the ball?
Well, honestly, one of our staff members standing next to me told me, said, run out and get it. And I saw the refs weren't looking, so I took off after it.
Did you know you saved your team 15 yards?
I was pretty sure. I was hoping we score right after that.
You feel guilty at all?
Not at all.
All right, back to the play. We're still searching for the ball, by the way.
Guilty, heck, I think they're going to put him on scholarship. Bulger's throw to the corner. Caught! Foreman! Touchdown, West Virginia!
Was that something special or what? Sean Foreman is locked up right there in man-to-man coverage. Good job by Washington. He's right there. But now watch this. Now you got good coverage. Watch how he accelerates up for the ball and will make the play.
Extra point is up and good. And West Virginia, for the third time, in the end zone.
You know, Foreman is really a special receiver. He was one in high school when he faced Dre Bly, North Carolina's fine cornerback, and went for over 200 yards in the first half against him.
Next Saturday, a busy day in college football. You've got to start it, obviously, with College Game Day. And then Mike Adamle's Wildcats will take on number 14, Wisconsin. The Pitt Panthers, who had a good day today, though they lost to Penn State, against Virginia Tech, number 21 Virginia Tech. That's on ESPN2. The day continues. Number 22 Alabama and Arkansas. That's on the Deuce. And then Georgia Tech. And you just talked about Dre Bly and North Carolina. That's at 7:30 Eastern. Next Saturday, another college football Saturday on ESPN and ESPN2. They're a happy bunch in Morgantown. Jay Taylor will kick it away. Patala deep. This is Bruce James who goes down, and he goes down hard. David Lightcap with the hit.
Let's go back to that touchdown pass and watch how Foreman at 6'2" is able to get up over the 5'8" Washington and make this sensational catch. That's just a beautiful catch, a nice fade route. We told you about that matchup and the size differential, and it played right there. That's great adjustment, like a center fielder in baseball, adjusting to the ball and then getting up and making the catch.
Now Maryland backed up on the field, backed up on the scoreboard. Harold Wesley over the left side. Maryland's defense is not a bad defense, but they've been on the field almost the entire first half.
That's exactly right. I mean, the offense hasn't had enough touches. The defense has been out there on those long drives that West Virginia has taken in to give them the 21 points. So Maryland has to be feeling a little bit outmanned right now. They can't stop West Virginia defensively, and they can't get any points because their receivers are shut down. They can't really get any big plays down the field.
Even the band has beat him to the ball.
Exactly.
21-3. Second down. Mastroli. Down he goes. Big John. John Thornton. His second sack of the ball game.
Well, John Thornton is known for talking a lot, but he backs it up. You can walk the walk, you can talk it. And watch him. He's double teamed. He beats the double team. He splits it, and now he makes the play. And you can dance a little bit if you do it how quickly, Rich?
Real quickly.
Yeah, he does it real quickly.
Well, that's pretty quick. Thornton with a couple of sacks. Third down and 15 now. Last 2 seasons, West Virginia has been murder on quarterbacks. And Maryland just trying to run out the string. And you know what? West Virginia is going to get this football again, and they're going to call timeout.
Yeah, and the crowd was calling for a timeout. The knowledgeable West Virginia crowd was signaling timeout right off the bat because they want another chance to score.
Lamont Jordan the carry. John Thornton in on the stop. We'll take a timeout. 21-3 West Virginia.
I just sat in front of my locker room, all my equipment on for like 2 hours. My coach came in there, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and so I cried for a long time. He was just sitting there, just trying to make me feel better. You know, he was just telling me things, just keep my head up, you know, look for bigger and better things, you know, in the future. And we just stayed in the locker room, thinking about all of, you know, the things we went through since I've been in high school. That's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life.
When's the last time you took a good look at Maryland? With our state-of-the-art facilities, nationally ranked programs, and outstanding faculty and students, the University of Maryland is considered one of the finest public universities in the nation. With purpose and momentum, we've become a leading player in higher education. The University of Maryland. Come see our progress. Because if you haven't seen us lately, you really haven't seen us at all.
21-3 West Virginia, and they're not done yet here in the first half. 1:40 left in the second quarter. Russ Edwards backed up to his end zone. West Virginia has come close on a couple of punts tonight. Nate Terry is deep. And here come the Mountaineers. They block it. It's loose. It's picked up. Touchdown, West Virginia. David Carter. David Carter with the block and the recovery.
He came through there just untouched.
Another look.
The middle of your screen. Look for Big O number 7. You can't miss him. 2 guys block him. They just let him go. That is just poor blocking by Maryland, and that's great determination by David Carter. Watch again. He's just going to come right through 2 guys who block him and turn him loose too soon, and he makes the play all by himself with the presence of mind to keep his composure to recover the ball.
Heck, he blocked it. He wasn't going to let anybody else pick it up.
And how do you like me now, he says. I told you.
And Maryland right now stunned. Almost a full house, Mountaineer Field, Morgantown, West Virginia. They've waited 2 long weeks for their Mountaineers to retake the field. 2 weeks ago, Ohio State came in and beat them. But Touchdown City is back in business here tonight. And Carter's right back on special teams.
And he's excited to be out there. Why not? He figures he's got another shot to make something happen again, something special. What he did a couple of minutes ago was pretty special.
That'll land out of bounds. Maryland will have the football with 1.5 minutes left. Down big in this one. Halftime you don't want to miss, because halftime means Mike Adamle and John Mackovic. Mike?
Okay, thank you very much, Rich. And coming up on the National Car Rental Halftime Report, number 1, Ohio State cruises. North Carolina State goes from upset-er to upset-y. And another big day for Syracuse and their Heisman candidate, Donovan McNabb. That's all coming up at the half. Guys?
Thanks, Mike. This one has all of a sudden gotten away from the Maryland Terrapins. The first block punt for a touchdown since 1984. And Maryland's going nowhere.
Yeah, and West Virginia is not going to call off the Dogs, and that time the Dogs were Chris Edmonds and Charlton Forbes.
Lamont Jordan with the carry. Maryland's going without a huddle. Incomplete on the throw. And it will bring up second down.
Mastroli was really taking some shots that time. West Virginia is just teeing off on him right now. And they know that he's got to throw the ball, and they're coming in taking their shot. I think Thornton is the guy who gets in here this time. There he is. Yep, big 300-pounder, number 96, John Thornton, with a big crushing hit on Mastroli again. This is when playing defense is fun. I mean, you know they're going to throw the ball. You know you got a chance to get after the quarterback. It's just a lot of fun right now.
Maryland 1 of 7 on third down, and they've averaged third down and 9. And this one is incomplete. And keep in mind, West Virginia has another timeout left and 1:04 on the clock. They're going to get this football again. Mastroli took a pretty good pop.
Well, how good a night is Thornton having? I mean, a token double team, and he told you, you cannot block me with one guy. And Maryland doesn't believe him, and you saw it again on that play. He's getting into the backfield whenever they single block him.
Carter's right back out there.
I bet they stay on him this time.
I'll bet he's touched this time. You're right. Russ Edwards back at his 20. Mountaineers don't come after this one. Terry at the 23. Terry to the 35-yard line. There's a penalty flag down and a player down as well. And Terry looks like he landed on the football. There's a look at Carter. Mastroli.
We had holding on the return team. 10 yards into the run. First down.
Coming up at the half, our National Car Rental halftime report with Mike Adamle and John Mackovic. A busy day in college football. We'll show you all the highlights and talk about some of the games still to come tonight on the National Car Rental halftime report. Rich Waltz, Rod Gilmore, and Chris Marlowe in Touchdown City. That's what Morgantown, West Virginia turns into every fall. And this place has lived up to its name in the first half.
Well, famous Amos Zaraway has been as good as advertised. 16 carries, 91 yards in the first half. And he's done it a variety of ways, but mostly to the left side. He's made big plays, had one fumble. It didn't cost him any points. And he's been a big man in the first half. He may look like a little man, but believe me, he has packed 200+ pounds on that 5'8" frame. And he's been something.
He always has big games against Maryland. The Maryland offense unable to move the football.
Not that time. It was pressing. He backed off, and then a linebacker came out trying to cover me. No, it was X-on-0
And there's a look at, I believe that's Terry. Nate Terry, number 28.
And he's had a wonderful game playing the left corner spot, or the corner spot that's to the short side of the field, the wide side of the field for them. And it looks like it's a shoulder or arm injury. But he was having just a tremendous ball game. And this is a team that has been suffering some injuries on defense. They really can't afford to lose him.
Obviously, they lost Gary Stills. They lose Terry. They had another injury in their defensive backfield in week 1 against Ohio State.
And they lost Sherrod, who's their backup free safety, who played quite a bit for them, which affects their ability to go to their nickel and dime package to bring extra defensive backs in. That man, Don Nealon, said that all we had to do is stay healthy. If we could stay healthy, you know, we've got a really good football team. And right now, his defense is really taking it on the chin in terms of injuries.
Yeah, Rick Sherrod went out. Wasn't sure if he was going to have his full complement of offensive linemen as well. But they haven't missed a beat. 28-3 on top. Now they've got an opportunity here with a minute left. Bolger's throw is caught. Tell you what, Corey Ivy is having a pretty good night. We've talked so much about Foreman and Saunders.
Ivy transferred from Tennessee. I'm sure he's glad that he's here now. And Bulger, you know, we're impressed with him. You've talked about him. Watch how he hangs in there to deliver this ball. Little half roll, but watch the end of the play. He's going to stay with it, and deliver the ball and take the shot. He knew he would get the shot, but he gave it to Ivy anyway. He got it there. Composure. He waits for it, and there's the big hit from Barton.
Clock is rolling. Screen to Zeraway. And he's got some room. Zeraway. He's 30. To the 15. It'll stop the clock on the first down. West Virginia has a timeout. A 40-yard pickup.
Just a screen pass to Zeraway let him touch the ball, but there's a flag down.
Holding West Virginia.
Yeah, and you know, and I think it was Eric DeGrow who's out front who's blocking for him. Right there, that's the hold. That's the takedown. That's the one that they brought back, and it affected the play. It's Eric DeGrow, 67, who was out front, and watch him right there. He's just going to wrap him up. That's the takedown. That's wrestling.
Well, it sure ate up a lot of clock. West Virginia still has that timeout, but now they're down to just 14 seconds. And the clock starts, remember, on the ready for play. Bulger, sideline. Ivy went to a knee. And West Virginia has to burn the timeout to stop the clock. Down to the sidelines, Chris Marlowe. Chris?
Okay, Nate Terry has a badly damaged shoulder. They took him right into the locker room. They're going to reevaluate, take pictures, and we'll know more at the start of the second half. But he's out for now. Back to you.
Thanks, Chris. The Maryland sideline not real happy, Rod, because the clock was stopped on the completion. And it was not a first down. And it allowed West Virginia time to find the official. Mark Bulger sought out the referee, called the timeout once the clock had been stopped for a good 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. You know the rule there. The clock only stops when you signal the time when if you get the first down or if you get the timeout acknowledged by the official. Neither one of those two things had happened, so that the clock should not have stopped. Ron Vanderlinden is not happy about that at all.
We had a whiskey bottle thrown on the field. It'll be 15 yards this way.
Are you kidding me?
So there's the 15-yarder. We thought it would be for a golf ball, but my goodness.
You go from golf balls to whiskey bottles. How do they even get the whiskey bottles in here? You know, we've been here a couple of days, and we've had a wonderful time. The West Virginia people have been absolutely fantastic, just wonderful. And to see the fans do this kind of stuff when they don't need to is absolutely ridiculous.
Three seconds left in this half. Same play, Zeraway. And a nice size pickup, though the clock has expired on the run. Amos Zeraway with a big pickup and a big first half. The Maryland Terrapins head to the sideline, head to the locker room, and they'll try to regroup. In Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mountaineers have done it on offense. They've done it on defense. Amos Zeraway has lived up to his name. 28-3 your halftime score as West Virginia impressively on top of the Terrapins of Maryland. Rich Waltz, Rod Gilmore. This is what Don Nehlen had in mind 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, you know, it took them a while to kind of get going. You know, they started off pretty slowly, but as the game progressed, they started to kick it in gear.
Well, offensively, they certainly kicked it in gear. It was an offense that took a while to get going.
Yeah, but once they got it going, it was Bulger, Corey Ivy, 9-yard scoring pass, and he was not the guy you expected to make a play, but this guy was, and he did. Zeraway with the 5-yard touchdown run, and then Sean Foreman with a huge catch in the corner of the end zone for the third score, and then the defense got themselves going a little bit later.
It's a West Virginia defense that certainly had some scars from the Ohio State game. Amos Zeraway close to 100 yards in the first half.
16 carries, 91 yards, and 1 touchdown. Remember, in the previous 2 years against Maryland, his numbers were 30 carries, 145 yards, and you take a look at the halftime stats, just nothing doing in the air by Maryland. 27 yards, 274 for West Virginia. The rushing, nothing for Maryland again. And again, time of possession. But look at the yards per play. 9.4 for West Virginia and only 2.5 for Maryland. 1 of 8 on third down conversions for Maryland as well. You know, Rich, they just haven't been able to get anything done. And the play of the corners for West Virginia has allowed the West Virginia defense to really play 9 defenders against 7 blockers, and they've just thwarted Maryland's offense.
Well, Maryland will get a chance to turn that offense around as they're going to get the football to start things here in the second half. Jason Hatala lost the football. It's on the floor, and Maryland's going to get it back. Omar Cheeseborough with the recovery. Scooter Davis with the big hit.
And there were big hits in the first half by the West Virginia defense as well, Rich, and it looks like they may continue in the second half. In the first half, it was plays in the backfield. The defense really, you see this play right here. Atala wasn't able to get back to it, but Cheeseborough, his teammate, was there to make the recovery.
Ken Mastroli at the quarterback spot, and he misfires there. And I think now is a time to address the quarterback situation for Maryland.
I'm not sure any quarterback is going to have success against this defense the way it is playing tonight.
Ken Mastroli, the junior, has struggled mightily in this football game, as has the entire offense. They've got a true freshman, Maryland does, on their sideline named Randell Jones, who is more of an option quarterback. And if this Maryland offense continues to sputter, we may see that true freshman. Here's Mastroli on the option.
A nice play by John Thornton. Thornton made plays in the first half as well. Take a look at the West Virginia defense first half. Getting to the quarterback. Thornton, number 96, showing up. Special teams as well. David Carter, reserve linebacker, blocks it, beats the block, recovers it for the touchdown. And Thornton finishes off Mastrelli in the first half, another sack. He's been living in the backfield despite the loss of Gary Stills, their preseason All-American linebacker. The defense has been superb.
You can't imagine the defense playing much better. Blitz coming. Mastrelli running for his life. Completes the pass at about the 17-yard line. Kevin Landolt this time was in pursuit. Moses Cruz, the catch. It's a pickup of a yard. And it's been a long night for Mastrelli and the Terrapins.
Well, they were all in the backfield. Watch the bottom of your screen. You'll see 48 Thurston will come in as well. He's in there who's chasing. There he is, 48 showing up, the replacement for Stills. But everybody else is there as Cruz makes the catch on the sidelines. But again, Tompkins, number 11, with a big hit. Not enough for a first down.
West Virginia already blocked one. Antonio Brown. And Brown with a nice return to the 41-yard line. Let's go down to the sidelines. Chris Marlowe.
All right, thank you, Rich. I talked to both coaches at halftime. Coach Vanderlinden, obviously very disappointed. He said we're a better team than that. We have to play better in all phases of the game. Meanwhile, Don Nealon actually found something to complain about. Pretty good first half, I would say. He was concerned about the penalties, but he told me, Chris, if we're a good team, we'll play the second half with intensity. If we're not, we'll lose our focus. I'm anxious to see what kind of a team we have. Back to you.
Ron Vanderlinden and Don Nealon. Amos Zaraway. And Amos Zaraway is over 100 yards to the 30-yard line. 11-yard pickup. 102 and counting.
You know, they just run the zone play. All you do with the linemen is you just want them to create some lanes. You just want them to just give a little bit of a crease here, grab and push, and Zaraway will find the lane. If you do that, he'll run it like that. Nice blocking up front by the offensive line. Great vision by Zaraway.
The 14th time that Amos Zaraway in his career has been over 100 yards. He's at 102. He'll get it again. And Zaraway to the 25, to the 21-yard line. Back to the studios, Mike Adamley. Mike?
Well, Rich and Rod, Florida State did tie things up with Duke. It's 10-10 at this point after a Duke field goal. The kickoff, and watch number 7 for the Seminoles. His name, Lavernius Coles. His speed, 9.2, and nobody's going to catch him before he races 97 yards for the score. 17-10 now, Seminoles.
Here in Morgantown, the ACC has taken it on the chin from the Big East. Zaraway at 111. Barton made the stop.
Barrier. Stop made by number 44, Garrett Barton.
Barton doesn't get a lot of credit, particularly in a game like this, but he is a player who plays off blocks and does a nice job of finding. Look at him, he just slips that block there, and now he's got to contend with Zaraway, who has great moves, but he does a nice job of making sure he wraps him up. Great speed for an inside linebacker.
West Virginia has not seen a whole lot of third downs. They're 2 of 4 in the ball game. Zaraway stumbled, but I think he has enough for the first down.
Now, the difficulty with matching up with West Virginia is that when you bring 8 or 9 guys in to deal with Zaraway in the running game, they have the 2 big, great receivers on the outside that can make you pay for the one-on-one coverage. That's a pretty good formula. I think West Virginia is going to have a pretty good year. Here you see Sean Foreman, he's covering up his arms for the AstroTurf.
Green's in motion. Zaraway. And he's down to the 10-yard line. It's a gain of about 10. Well, you think West Virginia's going to have a good year, huh? Well, you can measure what kind of year West Virginia is going to have usually by how they do against this Maryland team. They're up big right now, 28-3. 11.5 minutes left in the third. In the seasons that they have wins, 10 of them, 8 times they've been to bowl games. When they lose this football game, only 3 times have they gone to bowls. This is under Don Nehlen against Maryland.
Pretty good indicator of what's likely to come.
Green in motion, play action, Bulger has his man, it's Pat Green. He is in for the touchdown. 10 yards. Bulger's 3rd touchdown pass of the ball game.
Well, they run the ball so well, you get preoccupied with that. They have quality receivers to come back with and beat you. Pat Green's right here. He's in motion. You'll see him go. And now he's out there. He just, well, he slipped that block. And once he slipped that block, he was all open.
As Don Nehlen told Chris Marlowe, he was interested to see if his team would lose focus. Don Nehlen's a pretty happy football coach right now. His team on top big.
ESPN2's presentation of college football is brought to you by the all-new BMW 3 Series. Everything your car does well, it does brilliantly. And by State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Morgantown, West Virginia. You know, I was wondering where my duct tape went. Do you see the kicking tee that he's using, that Jay Taylor's using?
Yeah, your duct tape is right there. There it is. That's what it looks like. That's a different kind of tee.
That is. That's a new look. Of course, you can't use it when you kick field goals, but I guess when you kick off, you can use just about anything, as long as the ball stays up. Jay Taylor's kick. Bruce James. And he's out to about the 18-yard line. Down to the sideline, Chris Marlowe. Chris?
Sketchy details on the circular kicking tee. Jay Taylor told me a couple of moments ago. He just likes it because you can set the ball in it, and it's better to angle the kicks. It's not such a big deal on long kickoffs, but if you're trying to keep the ball away from a deep return man, kick an onside kick, it can be very effective. So number 47 in blue is using it.
Huh. Plus, you can keep your Gatorade cup cold on the sideline.
Yeah, he angled that one, and you can end them back in the corner on that one.
And as we talked about on the last drive, Ron Vanderlinden has gone with Randell Jones, the true freshman. Lamont Jordan, the sophomore. Barrett Green made the stop. Tell me about this change.
Well, you know, if you watched Game Day today, you heard Kirk Herbstreit talk about the change going to more mobile quarterbacks to deal with pressure defense. Well, Randall Jones is a mobile quarterback. He's a freshman. He's a guy that can attack you with the option, and he can throw the ball as well. This is a trend we're starting to see in college football.
He was not the number 2 quarterback when things started. You can see the man in the middle there is Craig Johnson, who was a great quarterback himself at University of Wyoming. He's the offensive coordinator here. Uh-oh. That's what happens when you get a true freshman out there. Chris Edmonds with the recovery.
And that's a tough play for a true freshman to run when he first comes in the ball game. That is a reverse pivot pitch and an option. And you'd like to think maybe you pitch it first with your good hand where you're real comfortable. This is a left-handed pitch for a right-handed quarterback, and he hasn't been in yet. See, and he loses the ball, actually. That wasn't much of a pitch. You got to have some butterflies and nerves when you're out there, and Jones, I'm certain, had his.
And as if West Virginia needed any more gifts. The Mountaineers in great position on the field and on the board. Almost a Statue of Liberty there. And Zaraway to the 12. To the studios, Mike Adamley. Mike?
Well, Rich and Rod, those early Duke scores, all it served to do was infuriate Florida State. Chris Winke to Travis Minor. He breaks loose for a 17-yard score. Florida State has scored 21 points in the last 7 minutes. They lead 24-10. And in Major League Baseball, the Cards on top of the Brewers 1-0. Mark McGwire hit by a pitch in the first inning. He still leads the NL with 64 home runs. Guys?
Sammy Sosa took an offer today, from what I was told.
You're a baseball man. You think this thing is going to go down to the last game?
Now, are you talking about the wild card, or are you talking about the home run?
Home run. What else, pal?
Well, hold on. Amos is about to score here. Zaraway to the 5. He reaches. Didn't get it. He's to the 3.
He is something special. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of room over there. Yet he managed to squeeze out almost enough to get him to the end zone. Good block at the point of attack. Now watch him feel it. He feels the blocking in front by Foreman just enough, and he squeezes down there almost enough to get him to the end zone. That's great vision, finding the soft spots to where he can get extra yardage. That was a little bit like Barry Sanders, don't you think?
You know, he's a big Barry Sanders fan, but if you ask him who his favorite NFL team is, it's the Jets.
New York Jets. You have to remember when he was growing up, Freeman McNeil was running around in the backfield for the Jets. You know, and this might be a little bit of Barry Sanders. He's got a little bit of Barry's eyes here, seeing it, and feeling it, and the little juke to the outside. And then the presence to really squeeze out the last couple of yards and finish the play.
Speaking of Freeman McNeil, if Amos Zaraway had his choice of schools out of high school, he wanted to be a UCLA Bruin. Zaraway. Touchdown. Amos Zaraway over 100 into the end zone. What new?
But he doesn't do it by himself. Anthony Beck, the tight end to that side, number 82. Great block, and even Sean Foreman, his receiver, who's out there, does a nice job of blocking. That's why it was so easy for Zaraway to stroll into the end zone.
And West Virginia is running away with this one. 42-3. 9.5 minutes left in the third. Amos, you're indeed famous. Amos Zaraway, tough man to stop.
We billed him as something special. He's done it. Look at the left side, 11 carries, 84 yards. Up the middle, 40 yards. And to the right side, 11 for 24 carries, 135 yards, a 5.6 yard per carry average. How'd you like the little Sammy Sosa kiss at the end of the touchdown run?
Yes, I do think it will go down to the final day, Mr. Gilmore. The Zaraway zone. Maryland will take it to the 20.
Now take a look at the tight end down here. Watch his block right here. Watch number 82, Anthony Beck. Watch how he drives 40, Aaron Thompson, way off the ball. When you get blocking like that, it's easy to score touchdowns. He takes them about 10 yards deep. It helps when you have a pretty good running back like famous Amos Zaraway. But that kind of blocking makes it so easy that nobody shows up in the frame to get in your way.
42-3, West Virginia. And back in at quarterback, the true freshman, Randall Jones. And the carry is out to the 22-yard line. Greg Robinette on the stop.
I'll tell you one thing. The Mountaineer fans come out and have a good time no matter what the score is.
Well, they had too good a time in the first half, Rod. They drew a 15-yard penalty for throwing something on the field. Matt Kalapinski, the carry. Maryland close to a first down. Coming up next, after this one, NFL Tonight, hosted by Mark Malone, joined by Mike Golan and Sean Salisbury. Stories and news. Who dresses Sean Salisbury?
Hey, Sean's the man, guys.
He is.
Yeah, Sean's got the wardrobe going on. To sneak in there and borrow some of his shoes one of these days.
Sean Salisbury went from our sideline guy to the studio.
Yeah, but he was our leader when he was here.
Big time.
Yeah.
We basically followed him around campus wherever we went. 1 of 8 is Maryland. Kalapinski make it 2 of 9 on third down. Maryland has not had a whole lot to talk about offensively tonight. They came into this football game without Jermaine Arrington, their leading receiver, ankle injury, did not travel. Ken Mastroli, their quarterback, struggled. Not much on the ground. This is a team that ran for 260 yards against the number 10 Virginia Cavalier defense last week. Jones will keep it, and a penalty flag goes down, as does Jones. Scooter Davis made the stop.
And West Virginia for being offsides. If they take the penalty, it'll give them a 1st and 5.
Offside on the defense. Penalty is declined. Second down.
They declined the penalty because they picked up, it looks like, 7 or 8 yards on the carry, which would give them a 2nd and about 3, 2nd and 2. Nice story for Maryland. They're getting some pretty good play out of their center, Melvin Fowler. He's not a very experienced center, but he's doing a pretty good job tonight, all things considered.
Flags down as Jones came to the line of scrimmage.
Dead ball. False start on the offense. 5 yards.
See, now
second down.
They'd like to rethink that, Ron. They'd like to accept the penalty because then they get the down back. Now, they basically just lost the down there.
Yeah, exactly.
The exchange rate not good in West Virginia tonight.
Not a good one.
7 minutes left, third quarter. If you've just joined us, West Virginia started out a bit slow, but man, did they get rolling offensively, defensively, and special teams. They have dominated this football game. Another flag is down. Jones burrows his way out to the 43-yard line. Down to the sidelines, Chris Marlowe. Chris?
All right, Rich, both you and Rodney have mentioned wide receiver Jermaine Arrington. Actually, he could have played tonight, according to Coach Vanderlinden. The problem, he didn't practice Tuesday or Wednesday. Coach's rule, no practice, no play. So Arrington gets the weekend off.
Ron Vanderlinden in his second year.
Yeah, I found that over the years, some coaches bend those rules depending on who you are.
Offside on the defense. 5 yards. Previous spot.
Well, some coaches do that out of necessity. Last week we talked to Hayden Fry at Iowa, and he told us that last year, 2 of his big guns, Tavian Banks and Tim Dwight, did not practice for the last 4 weeks of the season because they couldn't physically. I mean, they went to practice, they watched the plays. They couldn't practice, Rod, but they suited up on Saturdays. Hayden told us nobody knew about that. And that may have been one of the reasons Iowa faded at the finish last year.
Yeah, everyone was curious about why they tanked.
Jones picks up the first down. He's out to the 45-yard line. We're out to the studios with Mike Adams.
Okay, in Knoxville, Rod and Rich, Florida at the Tennessee 3. Terry Jackson hit by Renard Thompson, fumbled. He recovers, and Tennessee has a touchback and takes it back out to the 20-yard line, so they dodge an early bullet. Guys?
Maryland hasn't dodged any bullets here tonight. The Mountaineers have been on their mark. Randall Jones. Flag down. Incomplete. Almost intercepted by Scooter Davis. And we'll see about the flag.
It's going to be on West Virginia. I think they got them for being offsides. Yep, that's what it was, and Ron Vanderlinden will take the penalty.
Offsides on the defense, 5 yards. Repeat, first down.
Trey Evans was to be the backup quarterback for this Maryland team, but he injured his knee in fall camp. Randall Jones was 3 on the depth chart. He's 2 now. And on the pitch, Jerry Porter, along with Vince Pellis, making the stop.
How fast is Randall Jones' heart beating in this ball game? Because things are happening fast out there for him. The West Virginia defense flies around pretty quickly. So when he has to pitch the ball, he's got to do it very quickly. And they haven't done a great job of pitching it or running it at all tonight. As you look at the graphic there, 62 yards compared to the 188 last week against Virginia.
And keep in mind, that 188 was really 260. But in college, you lose yardages, or you lose yardage with every sack. And a flag is down at the 46-yard line.
Yeah, face mask over there. Lamont Jordan was carrying the ball, and the face mask was on him. Looks like he was hurt
Personal
by it.
Foul, face mask on the defense, 15 yards from the end of the run, first down.
I'm not sure. He's just staying loose. Damon Cogdell.
Well, he has to stay loose. Damon Cogdell last year dislocated and slightly fractured his hip and missed the last 3 games and came back this season. And when he's not on the field as a backup linebacker, he gets on the bike to try to keep his hip loose.
Penalty is big for West Virginia, but it hasn't mattered tonight. Nothing has mattered for Maryland. Randall Jones. Harold Wesley to the 22-yard line. Charles Fisher made the stop. Well, injuries were a focus, Rob. We talked about Gary Stills and his injury. He's not playing tonight. I think West Virginia has to be real concerned about Nate Terry, their fine cornerback, who went out with what Chris described as an arm injury.
Well, that's really huge. When you have corners, as you take a look at Stills out there, he's suffering from the fractured kneecap. When you lose your corners, you lose the ability to play tough man-to-man defense, which allows you to put 8 or 9 guys up to take away the running game. If Terry can't play anymore, it's going to be a real drop-off as to what they can do in the secondary.
West Virginia, the finish last year was a real painful one for this West Virginia team. They were drilled by Syracuse. They were 6-1 at one point last year. They lost a big one to Syracuse, beat Temple. Then they lost by 7 at Notre Dame, lost to Pitt in 3 overtimes, and then lost to Georgia Tech in the CarQuest Bowl. And Don Nehlen was anxious to get a win under his belt. And he's got a lot of them, but he hadn't had one in a while. Flags down, it's mass confusion at the West Virginia 20.
When you consider that they finished so poorly last season and then opened up with a loss to Ohio State.
False start on the offense. 5 yards. Second down.
Obviously, Maryland's offense is really out of sync. They've had a number of penalties on this drive with Jones in at quarterback, and that's just going to happen when you have a freshman running your offense. But just to follow the point, losing to Ohio State, that meant that West Virginia really hadn't won a football game in a long time. So emotionally, they needed to get a win tonight so that they could start feeling pretty good about themselves and look towards the future.
Jones to the air again. Bobbled and caught. John Warridge.
Jones did a nice job on that play. Kept his composure. He was under stress out there, and he floats this thing over a couple of guys. Watch Kalapinski.
It's Kalapinski that made the catch.
Yeah, and he actually does get his feet in bounds. Nice job.
Maryland,
nice touch pass.
And you can really sense Maryland just trying to get any kind of momentum and try to get any sort of positives. Keep the drive alive with the first down. Now Jones on the option to the 14-yard line. The West Virginia coaches told us, Rod, on option, they were going to take the tailback and let the quarterback run. Might they rethink that now that Jones is in the ballgame?
Yeah, I think they were thinking Mastroli would be the guy running the option, and they didn't particularly care if he ran the ball. They didn't want the tailbacks to have it. But Jones, on the other hand, is a very accomplished running quarterback. You might have to mix it up on him because he can break a long one on you.
Outside Wesley. Down he goes. Kevin Landolt with the stop. Back to the studios. Mike Adamo.
All right, Rich and Rod, the Big East showdown down in the Orange Bowl. Virginia Tech at Miami. Scott Covington for the Canes, airing it out. The streak pattern run by Santana Moss. No relation to Randy. 47 yards, and the Canes up early. 7-0. First touchdown of the year given up by the Hokies. Guys?
Or Carlos, for that matter. 42-3.
Watch the end of this play. This is Melvin Fowler, the center, young guy, and watch what he does before it. Yeah. Tries to cut him.
Kalapinski is in for a Maryland touchdown. Matt Kalapinski, the sophomore. And for the first time, Maryland is in the end zone.
Kalapinski carried the ball 8 times last week for 87 yards. This is one of his few carries today, and he does a nice job of getting through the lane there. As you saw, the line doing a good job of blocking. West Virginia not getting off blocks. Touchdown.
So the Terrapins in the end zone, but still trailing West Virginia big. Rich Waltz, Rod Gilmore, along with Chris Marlowe. 42-10, West Virginia on top of Maryland. Maryland has just put it in the end zone. And it looks like Maryland's using that new tee as well, Ron.
I think someone was spying and said, hey, that looks like a pretty good idea. Pulled out their own tee.
Brian Kopka will kick it away. Jerry Porter, Antonio Brown deep for the Mountaineers. And it's Brown. Down to the sidelines, Chris Marlowe.
All right, Gary Stills, the teacher. Mark Thurston, the youngster. Stills injured. Thurston taking his place. So far, Gary Stills thinks Thurston is doing a pretty good job. He says he's playing the run well. Still got to let the ball come to him. His grade so far, Coach Stills gives him a C+. He's a tough grader.
C+.
I think Thurston says scoreboard. Look at the scoreboard, 42-10. I got to get better than a C+.
Yeah, Thurston can tell teacher, look, I've got a W.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah, but when you're a redshirt freshman, you don't talk back to seniors very often.
No, especially that one.
He started with it.
Alvin Swoop is in the game in place of Zaraway, and Antonio Brown makes the catch from Mark Bolger. Our BMW storyline. That man has had a nice night, Mark Bolger. West Virginia on top. Amos Zaraway at 135 yards, 2 touchdowns. 3 touchdown passes for Bolger. Maryland 7 times 3 and out. And on 1 drive, 2 plays and a fumble. Amos Zaraway with his 135 yards.
As good as advertised. The Heisman Trophy candidate has been in the end zone a couple of times. And he's got a nice, sweet kiss to end it all.
Alvin Swoop, who was a junior, made the stop. Peter Timmons on the tackle. Well, he wasn't. What's wrong here, Ron? What's wrong with this picture?
You know, he didn't quite get what he did before. 96, 145 yards, 145 and 97, but only 135 tonight. He's got to say, Coach, I got 10 more I got to get.
Well,
Put me back in.
He has more touchdowns and fewer carries tonight than he did in the 2 previous efforts.
He knows about touchdowns.
Bulger for Brown, and it's incomplete. I don't think Bulger has thrown a bad pass tonight. That to me, that's not a bad pass.
No, only his guy could get that pass, so that was not a really poor pass. You know, going back to Zeraway, one thing to remember, when he came out of high school, I mean, this is a guy who in high school rushed for more than 5,000 yards and scored 59 touchdowns. And in college, what? He's got about 26 touchdowns in about 24 games, so the man knows how to get into the end zone.
Jay Taylor will punt it away. Julian Gary watches it land at the 28, and it rolls out of bounds at the 23-yard line. 45 yards on the punt. Which is just fine with Don Neyland.
You talked to Ron Vanderlinden about rebuilding this program at Maryland. Program he's familiar with rebuilding things. He was at Northwestern with Gary Barnett.
Well, you know, you can take the lineage of these 2 coaches, and there's an intersection in which they met in the college football world, and it's in Ann Arbor. Maryland's best quarter this year, the 3rd. (42-10) West Virginia on top. Let's head to the studios. Mike Adams.
Rich and Rod, after a Florida field goal, Tennessee fired back. Sean Bryson, the fullback, not the tailback, Jamal Lewis, he goes the distance, 57 yards in all, and Tennessee up 7-3. Good old Rocky Top. Guys?
Every year. Good ball game. You liked Tennessee in that ball game, didn't you?
I did, but every year it seemed like a Tennessee loss. Until maybe this year.
The change. Peyton Manning is not there. T. Martin is in.
Flags go down. Down to the sidelines, Chris Marlowe. Chris?
All right, injury report on cornerback Nate Terry, out for the rest of the game. He has a sternoclavicular sprain right in here. The sternum and the shoulder damaged. He's out. We'll probably see him next week. Back to you.
I guess that means that his shoulder hurts.
Yes. That would be a good diagnosis.
Okay, all right. I just want to understand it.
Of course, we have a doctor on call, Dr. Jerry Punch. Get his beeper.
Chris Marlowe can be his intern.
Mark Riley, another true freshman on the carry for Maryland. And it'll bring up a long 3rd down.
I'll tell you one thing, though. Charlton Forbes is having a heck of a night. And number 54 did not want to play nose tackle. They moved him over from defensive tackle, but he's having a heck of a ball game. He's been in the backfield more times than not tonight. He didn't make that tackle on the last play, but he was back there disrupting things so that his teammate could make the tackle.
Jones, not enough for the 1st down. John Thornton on the pursuit. And it's 4th down. He may be done for the night.
I was just going to say, there's not much more for him to do tonight.
Kid from Pittsburgh, same high school as Dan Marino. You know what? He's played like him tonight. West Virginia up big in Touchdown City. West Virginia 42-10 over Maryland. As we start the 4th, Rich Waltz, Rod Gilmore, along with Chris Marlowe, a familiar sight of Maryland punts. Antonio Brown at the 16-yard line. And Brown slips a couple tackles. Flags are down. Flag back at the 14-yard line. And so this one will be backed up.
Yeah, I think they found David Carter, the man who blocked the punt. They got him.
On the return, we had a block in the back on the receiving team. Half the distance to the goal. 1st and 10 from the 7.
All right, Rod Gilmore, many people have asked, who is that man, Ron van der Linden? 42 years of age, his 2nd year as the head coach of Maryland. You look down his resume, graduate assistant at Bowling Green. He was at Michigan. At Colorado, he was on the staff. Bill McCartney rebuilt that program into a national champion.
And who was on that staff with him was Gary Barnett, I believe.
And then Barnett got the head coaching job at Northwestern, took van der Linden with him. He was the defensive coordinator for the 2-time Big Ten champion Wildcats. And Bulger still in the ball game. Crowd wanted a flag, but Maryland actually was pretty gentle as they rode him out of bounds. They could have been a lot rougher. Let's go. I want to revisit van der Linden because there's an important spot in his coaching career before he got to Colorado. Michigan.
Right there.
On that staff, there was an assistant by the name of Don Nealon on Bo Schembechler's staff. Nealon was between stops of Bowling Green, where van der Linden started, and here, West Virginia. And so the two coaches do know each other. And Nealon does have some affection towards van der Linden, likes him.
He likes him so much, he wants to beat him by a lot.
Yeah. Corey Ivey is in motion. Bulger with time, and it's incomplete. He was looking for his tight end, Anthony Becht.
You know, and I make that statement, and it's not facetious. When you have a lot of respect for someone, you don't take pity on them when you play them. You play your best, and you try to make them better. And Don Nealon and his staff and his players have gone after this ball game with everything that they have to get their program right, and they expect Maryland to come up to that. And that's what Coach van der Linden expects as well.
Are you surprised that Bulger is still in the football game?
Very much. Very much so. That's one reason why. And this man has had a heck of a night. He's thrown 3 touchdown passes, and he hadn't been sacked or knocked around, really. Took some shots, but not sacked. And now you have him in late in the ball game. You're up 42-10 as you see what he's done. 20 of 25, 80% completion rate. I can add, subtract, multiply. No picks. It's a heck of a night for him, so I'd let him rest the rest of the way.
Antonio Brown in motion. This is Alvin Swoop as Amos Zaraway has the rest of the night off.
Another reason for getting him out of the ball game is to start to develop some depth, to get your backup quarterback in case you do have an injury down the line, because you're not going to have 42-10 games every week.
West Virginia next week has got Tulsa at home. Then they travel to Navy, travel to Temple, and they get into that Big East with Miami and Virginia Tech.
We have another golf ball thrown on the field. That's a dead ball. Unsportsmanlike conduct on West Virginia. We're penalized half the distance to the goal.
You know, and I got to tell you something. It's bad. We know it's bad. But these fans, if they pull this later in the season, they could cost their team significantly in the race in the Big East.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to applaud the officials because that's 2 flags now. One for the whiskey bottle and another for the golf ball, which by our tote board is the 5th to land on the playing field. And a big hit. The special teams have been just that tonight for West Virginia. David Lightcap with a little nightcap.
ESPN2's presentation of college football is brought to you by 10-10-220. Dial it and talk up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents.
Mountaineer Field, Morgantown, West Virginia. The Maryland Terrapins made the trip by bus, and it's going to be a long ride back. 42-10. Randall Jones. Let's head to the studio. Check in with Mike Adams.
Well, down in Tallahassee, Rich, Florida State continues to pour it on Duke. This time, Travis Minor gets the ball, preferring to win on the ground tonight. A 8-yard touchdown run that puts the Seminoles up 38-10.
Some sense of normalcy returning to college football with Florida State getting back on top. Last week saw everything turned upside down.
Jones close to midfield. Gary Tompkins made the stop. One crazy thing about college football, you try to compare scores. What Maryland did last week, they played number 10 Virginia even. That really put a scare into West Virginia when they saw that on tape.
Yeah, it did, because Virginia has a great defense, an outstanding team. But, you know, you can't really compare teams and scores like that. Matchups are different. Players are different. This Maryland team did a great job last week, and as great as they played last week, they played that poorly tonight.
Jones keeps it to the 47. Damon Cogdell off his bike and into the game to make the stop.
Yeah, we saw him earlier on the exercise bike, keeping his legs warm and loose, keeping his hip loose, the hip that he dislocated against Syracuse last season. And you know, when he went out last season, they went on to finish 1-3. So he's sort of a good luck charm. When he plays, they typically do better.
Kenny Rogers to the 43-yard line. Greg Robinette made the stop.
How do you see this Big East race? Syracuse certainly looking like a pretty good team, and Virginia Tech is certainly in the top 25 right now, and West Virginia is going to be in that hunt as well.
You know, the Big East is a difficult one. Obviously, I think Syracuse is the team that everyone looks towards. To the 41-yard line.
Syracuse has the great equalizer in Donovan McNabb. He's a handful for anyone who plays him. This West Virginia team, though, they get that man back. Gary Stills, their preseason All-American linebacker. They get him back in the mix, and who knows how good this West Virginia team can be. John Thornton told us that he thinks he and his mates can run the table and go 10-1.
Well, don't count out Frank Beamer's Virginia Tech team as well. Jones goes down. An incredible season of baseball enters its final week tomorrow. On ESPN, the home run race, the wild card race. It's Cincinnati and Chicago, the pregame Sammy Sosa celebration, then the Reds and the Cubs. It's tomorrow, 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific, on your home for Major League Baseball, ESPN. 64 and holding for McGuire. He's 0 for 2. Sosa's 0 for 4, and Sosa is done for the day. In case you're scoring with us at home, Omar Cheeseborough makes the catch.
That's a nice throw by Jones. First time we've had a chance to see him simply drop back and let it fly. He's 3 of 3 for 21 yards, and that was the best looking pass he's thrown.
Randall Jones. He spells it Randall, A-L-L. He pronounces it Randall. And he's faced with a third down. And he's come darn close to picking it up. To the studios, Mike Adamley. Michael?
Okay, not to make Rod feel homesick, but out on the farm, Stanford leading North Carolina 27-13 when Tyrell Godwin, watch him go here. Great setup up on the kickoff return. 100 yards in all. And North Carolina back in at 27-20, 3:17 remaining in the third quarter, guys.
What's wrong with your Stanford Cardinal? Can't they recruit a fast kicker?
We need somebody who can run like Mike Adamley. That's all we need.
4th down and short. Maryland's going to go for it. Galopinski is a real load. Just ask Gary Tompkins, who got knocked into next week.
And Tompkins has got to stay healthy. They've already lost one guy in the secondary. You know, and that's a common trend in college football now. Injuries now. When you have injuries to frontline players, it makes a big difference in your team. Take North Carolina playing Stanford, for example. Oscar Davenport being out. All of a sudden, North Carolina is a much more vulnerable team.
They lost the wide receiver as well,
yeah.
Mr. Peace. Maryland on the move. And Jones inside the 25. It's a gain of about 4. Damon Cogdell made the stop.
Yeah, Rich, you talked earlier about how they attack the option. Cogdell does a nice job here. Watch him play off this. His job is get to the quarterback. He plays off 2 blocks and then comes up to make the play inside out. That's a nice job. Would have been easy for him to give up on the play when he was blocked. He didn't. Seems like he's still kind of running with a little bit of a limp or kind of a pause.
2nd down and 6. Jones has 45 yards on the ground now on 11 carries. And the play clock has expired.
I like the way Jones has come back from that opening turnover that he had.
Delay of the game on the offense. 5 yards. 2nd down.
He's completed 3 of 3 passes. Rush, as you mentioned, 4 for 45 yards. So he's had 14 touches and been responsible for 66 yards. And he's kept his composure ever since that ill-advised pitch was on the ground and picked up by West Virginia.
Harold Wesley just inside the 30. It's a big night here in West Virginia, and I'm not talking about those Mountaineers, right, Chris Marlowe?
Yeah, a little bit later tonight on our sister station ABC, 50 of the most beautiful women in the world will gather together for the Miss America contest. Interestingly, one of those women, Miss West Virginia, used to work in the sports information department here for the Mountaineers. She is gorgeous. She is smart. Her goal is to organize a literacy campaign that will incorporate some of West Virginia's finest athletes. As for me, I'm rooting for her. How about you guys?
Heck, Chris, I think you should host the show. You handled that pretty well. Wesley to the 26-yard line. They are rooting for her big time. And at halftime, she was pretty much the talk of, along with Amos Zaraway, the talk of the press box because she works in that sports information department here.
Oh, she's been the talk of the show ever since we got to town. And our sister station ABC's Boomer Esiason is going to be handling that.
How did we miss that?
Exactly.
That's a layup right there. The former Maryland Terrapin. Well, hopefully Boomer has not watched the game and will not have any, I guess, bias against a West Virginian. And the field goal is good. Brian Kopka on the board. 2 43-yard field goals for Mr. Kopka. Maryland still down big. I'm not sure that's the limit in West Virginia.
Sorry for Gary. Play for the boys that's not here.
Yep. Gary Stills is the guy he's talking about. Stills has done a lot of things tonight. He's been an assistant coach. He's been just a goodwill ambassador for college football. He signed autographs. He's added a little commentary for us.
Yeah, I think he wants to get up here so he can put on the headset and take over up here too.
He talked about that yesterday.
And he can do the job. He is not a shy individual. Has great presence on the football field as well.
Little pooch kick. And a fair catch made at the 27. Down to Chris Marlowe. Chris?
All right, they say that West Virginia has its fittest team ever. One of the reasons why strength and conditioning coach Alan Johnson, who has his team do a lot of different things. First, he has them flip 450-pound truck tires up and down the football field. Then he has them carry 800-pound sandbags. As you're looking right now, he has them push cars around the stadium parking lot. And then there is something called the hill. So we sent our two crack announcers, Rodney and Rich, to run the hill. 210 yards of agony, a 60-degree grade. Look at those guys. Go, 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 go. The tortoise nips the hair in a photo finish.
Now, wait a minute.
Very, very difficult. You'd have to say that we have the fittest announcing team at ESPN.
Now, hold on.
Back to you guys.
Now, hold on. I don't know about team. Let's go back if we can.
That's a heck of a hill. Look at this thing. Team. Where is Marlowe? There's an M in team, but there is no Marlowe with us going up the hill.
That's it.
You know? Where are you, Chris?
I tell you, when you walk the sideline all night, you don't have time to run the hill. Play-by-play analyst, that's easy work. Walking the sidelines, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's
right.
tough.
I'll tell you the story behind this. They told us about the hill, Rod, and the West Virginia players at our meeting yesterday said, oh, you don't want any part of the hill. You guys can't even make it up the hill.
Yeah.
And so obviously we had to go try. And I will report that my partner Rod Gilmore made it up about 6 times. I made it up about 3 times. About being the key word. That third time was a real killer. Alvin Swoop, the right side.
Well, that hill is one heck of a hill. And Amos Zaraway was trying to give us some pointers. He said 2 things. 1, don't look up as you run up the hill. And 2, when you get to the top, pray. Pray you don't have to run it again.
Back down to the sideline, Chris.
Yeah, one other thing you guys forgot to mention, that both you wussies had to have a salad for lunch so you didn't barf at the end of the hill.
I was sitting next to John Thornton and also to
Sean Foreman.
I was waiting for the play.
Yeah.
Sean Foreman. And every time I looked at having something to eat, Sean Foreman would look at my plate and pull it away and say, nah, you don't want to eat if you're going to run that hill.
And if you saw that shot, you saw me exit camera right because that's where I was headed. Football at the 34-yard line. West Virginia and Maryland with 4.5 minutes left in it. There's Mr. Foreman, who was our lunch partner.
Our coach, too.
He was.
Our coach for the hill.
The only guy that thought we'd make it up was John Thornton. Brad Lewis in the ball game, and Brad Lewis overthrows his target. It's incomplete. There's a look at Lewis, the redshirt freshman out of Shady Side, Ohio, as he does take over for Bulger on this drive. And now Maryland will get the football back. 4 minutes left, 4th down and 4. Jake Taylor with the punt. Julian Gary falls down. And the ball rolls out of bounds at the 25-yard line. Lunch is still intact here. West Virginia on top. West Virginia 42, Maryland 13. 4 minutes left. Randall Jones. Now they take the quarterback, and the pitch to his tailback, Mark Riley. Maryland will try to regroup. The Terrapins have got Temple at home and then Florida State in 2 weeks. And they're on the road to Clemson. Little play action. Jones's throw. Incomplete. Moses Cruz couldn't hold it.
Jones had a little bit of time to settle himself. He wanted to lead Cruz a little bit. Instead, he threw a little bit behind him. Matt, I do like his composure. I think he's going to be a fine quarterback. He needs more time on the field. He's getting a lot of it tonight. Needs more of it when the game is in doubt. But I like the way he settled down after having the fumble right off the bat.
It'll be an interesting decision next week because this is a very different team offensively with Jones than with Mastroli. And I mean in the play calling selection. Nice throw to midfield, and Omar Cheeseborough makes the catch. More college football, and I'm not talking Saturday, I'm talking Thursday. It all begins with Game Night presented by Coors Light. The number 17 Arizona Wildcats and the Aztecs of San Diego State. Thursday, 7:30.
And all of a sudden, the team in Arizona that gets all the attention is the Arizona Wildcats, not the Arizona State Sun Devils.
And the Sun Devils have stumbled out of the blocks indeed.
Number 2, Mark Riley.
Our national car rental players of the game, Eric Barton of Maryland, 7 tackles, forced a fumble, and Amos Zaraway, 135 yards on 24 carries and a couple of touchdowns.
Amos Zaraway is as good as advertised. I don't know about you, but I was looking forward to seeing him in person. I've seen him over the last couple of years on tape and on television, but he is more fun to watch in person than on television.
Well, you had Mr. Thornton and Foreman telling you weren't going to make it up the hill. I had Mr. Zaraway next to me telling me I wouldn't make it up the hill. Very interesting guy. I mean, here's a guy in Amos Zaraway who, and I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, out of high school, he wanted to go to UCLA. And a lot of colleges recruited him, but his test scores were late in coming in. And so a lot of colleges dropped off, but West Virginia stayed on him. And Don Nealon felt that he had something special in that little guy. He's about 5'8", 200 pounds. And he was right. Look what he's done. And remember, he's only a junior.
Yeah, by the time he's done, he probably will hold every Big East rushing record there is.
He got the Sammy Sosa thing down, too.
Oh, yeah, he knows that. I think he's probably a Sammy Sosa fan in the Sosa-McGuire race. He's certainly got that move down. I bet, you know, that other thing that Mark McGuire does with Ron Gant, the old punch to the stomach, that's the kind of thing that linemen do.
Yeah, that's a good point. 42-13. We're back after this. Two and a half minutes left in this football game. West Virginia on top of Maryland. And for the Terrapins, they will have to regroup.
That's Lamont Jordan, their fine sophomore running back, who was poked in the eye early on in the game.
Kalapinski still running hard to the 31-yard line.
And Jordan is really the focal point of the offense for Maryland. And having him out really hurt them. There's Gary Stills. He's been signing autographs for the last half hour or so. He should be tired by now.
He should be back on the headphones. He's still an assistant coach for this game. I guess he feels that Mark Thurston passed the test.
Well, he gave him a C+.
Class is over.
You saw that shot of Jordan on the sideline. He's carried the ball 9 times, but for only 1 yard. He had 88 yards last week against Virginia. West Virginia has had a much tougher defense, and Jordan suffered that eye injury. And hopefully he'll be healthy enough to return next week.
Randall Jones for the end zone. Incomplete. On the coverage, Scooter Davis.
Well, Jones does a nice job of putting the ball out there, giving Cruz a chance to make a play. He spots the one-on-one coverage at the bottom of your screen. You see that? And right now he looks right, comes back to the left, and he sees this now. He knows his guy has got the one-on-one coverage, and he lays it out for him. But a nice play at the end there. Scooter Davis coming in to make the play, protecting the inside. Nice job.
3rd down 8. There's the pitch. Mark Riley had to stop to get it, and it cost him as he's bounced out of bounds. K.C. Schiller made the stop. Coming up next, after this one, West Virginia and Maryland. NFL Tonight, Mark Malone, Sean Salisbury. A minute left in this one. A timeout, Maryland.
You know, one thing about this West Virginia defense we didn't touch on is that it's been heavily influenced by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're so close to the Steelers.
We'll take this timeout. 1:03 left in this football game. The man in the middle there, Mark Bulger, had a great night. 3 touchdown passes, 20 of 25, almost 300 yards. And West Virginia is on top big, 42-13. Let's go down to the sideline. Chris Marlowe. Chris?
All right, with me, Mountaineer Brandon Flower. How did you get this job?
Well, first there's an application that we have to fill out with essays and recommendations. We have to go through an interview and then a tryout, cheer-off.
How many applicants were there?
12 or 13.
Did you have to know how to fire a gun?
It kind of helps, but no, it's not a requirement.
Are you popular with the women here?
Well, at least with my girlfriend, I hope I am.
All right. As Brandon Flower, the Mountaineer, I'm going to join up. We're number 1.
The Mountaineer.
Oh, a great catch down at the 4-yard line. Omar Cheeseborough with the catch. Nice hat, Marlowe.
No, I'm not going there. I'll tell you one thing. With that hat, you know, he didn't run with us yesterday, and he's wearing that hat. He cannot come with us. But this guy came with it here. Cheeseborough, nice adjustment. Watch the hands. Catches the ball at the highest point. That's a great job. Jones put the ball out there where he knew his guy would have a shot at it, and that's a tremendous catch by Cheeseborough.
Cheeseborough, 4 catches, 67 yards. Important for this young Maryland team to stick it in the end zone here. Jones is going to try, and he's down to the 2-yard line. Maryland has 1 timeout left.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'd call a timeout. I think they do need to get a score. They've been working awfully hard. It would help Jones's confidence to stick it in there. Especially, we've talked about this defense and the Pittsburgh Steeler influence on it.
Well, Pittsburgh is just up the road, and by just up the road, I mean about an hour and a half north. And that's certainly something that West Virginia and Don Nehlen have used as an example. You see Ron Vanderlinden on the Maryland sideline. Nehlen told us that he does not hesitate to pick up the phone and call the Steeler assistants if he has questions. And his assistants, his offensive coordinator, and his defensive coordinator, Steve Dunlap, has been a long-time assistant and a long-time admirer of the Steelers.
And an advocate of the pressure defense. A lot of the blitzing, a lot of the zone blitzing that we see. You saw a lot of blitzing in the first half tonight. Not so much in the second half because the game was in hand. But that's the influence of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they run a lot of what the Steelers have taken on in the NFL. Here's Don Nehlen, one of the more nice, quiet, gentle men in all of college football.
Well, he's gentle until his team makes a mistake. And then that gentleness melts away a little bit. 5th winningest active coach with 183, about to become 184 wins. Let's see if Maryland can stick it in. Kalapinski, yes. He's a tough runner, and he sticks it in the end zone. Matt Kalapinski. Maryland gets a reward for some tough work up front and in the backfield.
What a great effort by Kalapinski. That's just desire. That's finishing a play, finishing a game where you know you're not going to win, but making it count nevertheless. 4th quarter late. Watch the effort by Kalapinski at the end. He's hit by 3 guys. He's determined to get into the end zone. He won't be denied. That's a great effort.
80 yards on 11 carries for Kalapinski and 2 touchdowns. He's run, Rodney, for about 160 yards in 2 weeks combined.
And whoever said fullbacks don't carry the ball, this guy is
Illegal participation
showing him he ought to be able to.
On West Virginia, 12 men on the field.
Too many men on the field. I think Maryland's just going to decline it and kick it away. Don Nehlen said, to be a head coach in college football, you have to be able to endure 80-hour weeks, and you have to be a high-energy guy. And he said, I still have the energy.
Participation, 12 men on the field. West Virginia, penalty is refused. Try is good.
And I'm still willing to put in the hours.
Well, we asked him if he were thinking about retirement. He said, you know, Sundays are like no other day. We work. Other people have Sunday off. And he still enjoys Sundays and putting in the 12-hour days. And he says, so long as I like Sundays where I work, I'll keep coaching.
Well, they're hoping that he keeps coaching for a long time around these parts. He has built quite a program. This is a team that played for the national championship back in 1988. Was undefeated going into the Sugar Bowl back in '93. Last year, a Gator Bowl loss, or excuse me, a CardQuest Bowl loss, a Gator Bowl loss in '96. Shelley Poe, the sports information director.
Yeah, there she is right there. There's Shelley. Host is extraordinaire, coordinating everything this weekend for West Virginia and the ESPN crew that was around here. West Virginia is going to make a run at running the table. They're going to have to get their players healthy, get Stills back, get Nate Terry back, and then they may have a legitimate shot of winning the rest of their ball games.
Onside kick. Use the conventional tee for this one. That's a good kick. And a nice play on special teams by West Virginia. Jerry Porter up to get it. And now West Virginia can take a snap and run the clock out.
What's up, Rob? What's up, baby?
The Mountaineers will get ready for Tulsa. The Terrapins will return home to take on Temple.
Well, Maryland will continue its rebuilding effort, Rich. And they are somewhere in between where they were last week and this week. They're still trying to find out how they are, where they are. It's a very young football team, dominated by freshmen and sophomore among their top 44 players.
Delay of the game on the offense, 5 yards. First down.
West Virginia again will just snap it. I think you're right, Rod. This is a team that's going to make some noise before the season's done. The loss to Ohio State, they even their record at 1-1. And Don Nehlen, for him, career number 184. A long career. That man, Ron Vanderlinden, trying to do what Nehlen did here, build a program.
You don't build programs in a year or 2 years. Takes a while. They'll get it done.
The final score, West Virginia 42, Maryland 20. For Rod Gilmore, I'm Rich Waltz along with Chris Marlowe. Coming up after these messages, NFL Tonight. Don Nehlen headed to the locker room with another victory. NFL Tonight coming up next. From Morgantown, Touchdown City, the Mountaineers have evened their record impressively as they beat Maryland. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Good night from Touchdown City.